Welcome to another edition of iWake. Today is Thursday, April 25th, 2013, and today is the Nintendo edition of iWake. This is the first Nintendo edition of iWake, and let's get to it. So, to kick this off, we could go over Nintendo Direct and different things like that just happened. We're getting a new Zelda game for the 3DS coming out later this year. We're getting lots of new games this year, and there's lots to talk about there. But let's just kick it off with getting acquainted with the Nintendo ecosystem and world that is out there now. So, briefly, my experience with Nintendo was I started with my first big gaming console was the N64. And I remember the golden days of playing Perfect Dark and GoldenEye and had all my brothers and sisters with the multiplayer. And that was where I started, really. I played NESs before. I played the Super Nintendo at some friend's house, but never owned one. So the N64 is really my first console that I experienced. And it was a great experience owning that. So the current Nintendo ecosystem is much different than it was back then. We are now at an age where we have the Wii, which is now fading away into the sunset, while we have the Wii U as its current console, which is backwards compatible with Wii games. And we also have the 3DS sold side by side with the DS. So we're at an age of really amazing games that are out there now. So I just recently picked up a Wii U Deluxe Edition, and I also, with that, means I get access to the Wii games, which I never owned a Wii. I didn't think owning a console for the sole purpose of casual games and motion-based games was worth it. But the Wii U is advertised and marketed towards the heavy gamer market, which I'm one of those people that I think I qualify into that group where they're advertising towards. So I picked up the Wii U and had such an amazing experience with this console that I picked up a 3DS because I thought, hey, this is awesome. Let's see what they're doing with the handheld games. As the last handheld game I had was the original Game Boy, black and white screen, and it was enjoyable, but I was curious where they've gone in the age of iPhones and iPods. And they've gone this wonderful place. The screen and 3D effect is amazing. On this console, this handheld gaming console. It's a really remarkable experience to behold. Super Mario 3D Land is really amazing to see. You're able to do things in a 3D world, true 3D world, that you aren't able to do with just 3D graphics. You're able to see distances and judge altitudes in a much greater way than you have been before. And having 3D it takes you into a different world than I thought I would need. I thought, hey, 2D is great on the iPad. I don't need 3D. But really, when you take handheld gaming to 3D, it really does open up some cool things. Now, as this is the first Nintendo edition, I just want to talk a little bit about why am I appealed to Nintendo? What is it about this company? What is it about their games that make it so? So, I had this decision, hey, do I go with Wii U? Do I go with the PS3 or an Xbox 360? I want to get back on the console gaming. I wanted a next-generation console. The Wii U is that. And also, I looked at Nintendo. As a company, they line up with the type of games that I want to be playing. I want Mario. I want Zelda. Even though I've never really played a Zelda game, I know that those games I'm going to want to play one day. I know all these exclusive games for the Nintendo systems are games that I really, really want to play. Besides that, what drew me in was this innovation that the company has. It seems that Nintendo was the first with motion gaming. Nintendo was the first with dual screen gaming with the DS and now the Wii U. And they're doing creative things in the gaming space, and they also create games and promote people to create games that are video games. Instead of movies that you're able to play a part of. I feel like with the Xbox and the PlayStations that they are trying to recreate movies that you're able to play inside of these so-called video games. Whereas Nintendo, it feels like they understand the concept of what makes a video game, what makes it enjoyable. And with these consoles, this 3DS and Wii U, I'm experiencing joys and delights that I have not felt in gaming in forever. I don't think I ever had these experiences before. I'm having some delightful moments that are just wow. They're actually doing that. That's really cool. They're having wow moments in gaming. And the Wii U and the 3DS are both accomplishing this feat. And they're really doing some amazing things there. So I'm back into the Nintendo world. What this Nintendo edition is going to talk about in future editions will be news in the Nintendo world. We're going to talk about what I'm playing, what's really caught my eye in the gaming world, and things like that. A bit about the Nintendo ecosystem is that you have this eShop where you're able to buy games digitally now. And on the 3DS, I'm doing a bit more of that than I am on the Wii U. I think still owning physical media in gaming really makes sense for reselling and things like that. Another thing about the Nintendo ecosystem is there's these things called Nintendo Directs. These are every couple months where Nintendo will just host a little event that they broadcast online, these video events where they announce all these new games and announcements towards the Nintendo world. So they just held one, and they're probably going to hold another one right before E3. And this is kind of like the Apple keynotes, and they hold these quite frequently to kind of update everyone on the world of what Nintendo's doing. So beyond that, why Nintendo? Why Nintendo is another fact that I like the way they do it. They're a software and hardware company. They build the consoles and they build great games around them. And Nintendo consoles can exist entirely on Nintendo games, but luckily they don't. There's all these great third-party games that make them whole. So they're just like Apple in that regard. They make the hardware and they create games that take advantage of that hardware. They create the software for it that makes it wonderful. So I believe Nintendo is the Apple of gaming. They really do stand out above in that regard. So with that said, I have picked up an N64 to have in the house. I picked up a GameCube from eBay for $40, and I have the Wii U. So those are the three consoles I now own, as well as the 3DS. And I'll be sharing experiences of all these gaming consoles, going retro with the GameCube and N64, and talking about what is out there now with the Wii U and 3DS. So I have a 3DS XL, to be more specific. So with that said, welcome to the very first edition of the Nintendo iWake podcast. This is every Thursday you'll get this podcast, and welcome to it. I'm loving the Nintendo world, and I'm excited to bring you along for that ride. I'll be doing a co-hosted podcast about Nintendo fairly soon, on a bi-monthly basis, every other week, basically, with Mark Greentree. So look forward to that. But thank you for tuning into today's episode of iWake. Tune in tomorrow for tomorrow will be our 24 frames per second podcast, as we originally called it, but now it's just called the International Film Club podcast. International Film Club podcast comes out every Friday. It won't be a part of this YouTube feed of iWake shows, but if you want to listen to me on Fridays, that's where you go, the International Film Club. We talk about one movie a week for 30 minutes, me and Mark Greentree. So tune into that show tomorrow to hear more of me and to hear the quote-unquote Friday edition of the show. Thanks for tuning into this show. I encourage you to watch more of my YouTube videos here at youtube.com/TCHATEN. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for next week's edition of iWake.